I'm going to do a painting today just based on this photo that I took in Morstan Key. That's up in Norfolk. And those that you follow me on social media may know that I spent the last few days up there just finding some locations and nice little places to do some sketches. I like to sort of travel around, take photos, but also take a very simple painting setup with me. So just some 9x12 or 7x10 blocks of paper, a very lightweight painting easel and a little paint box. And it's quite a nice thing to do, to find a location and just set up there and just do some very simple sketching. So I'm going to do a painting based on that photograph, and I'll paint it in a similar way as I would if I was on location. So I always start out just with a very basic drawing, just jot down the main point. So just put in a horizon line, a water line, and there's a jetty there, very attractive sort of old looking jetty, and I'll just put down, like I said, just the main points of that. So just put in some of the posts and the main part of the structure, just so I know where it is. Don't have to get every post in exactly the right place, but just very simply sketch it out. And it's quite a nice way to work. It's very immediate, and so I'll get most of the painting done in the first wash really, and then just go over, just add a few darks and a couple of hard edges just to tie it all together. And it's not really a post on the right hand side there, but I quite like to have something over there on the right just for a bit of balance. And it's also an excuse just to reflect something else down in the water. So it's a very simple drawing. And now I'm just going to wet the paper all over, not soak it, but just dampen it just enough so I get some soft edges in the sky. And also, if you look at the photograph again, you see that the sky, it's very blue, but I'm going to try and just get some clouds in there just to make it a little bit more interesting really. As nice as it is to spend the day out in the sun, blue skies, it doesn't make for a very interesting painting. So I'll just use my imagination and just get some cloud shapes, just something a little bit more interesting to look at. So I'll just pick up some cobalt blue and I'm just going to add that to what's in the palette. Little touch of ultramarine into that as well. And I'm going to do this whole painting just using the same brush. It's a squirrel mop brush. And so just bring that across very simply, and now pick up some grey. And I'll just touch that together, leave a few little white areas as well. Okay, pick up a little bit more blue. And then bring that in underneath, again just touching the grey above and allowing it all to sort of run together, and still leaving a few white areas behind. And just bring that down, softening it all as I go. I'll just grab some ultramarine, a little bit of burnt sienna, a touch of raw sienna as well. So it's a little bit darker, and then just bring another cloud shape up. Again, touch more cobalt blue. And then just bring that down to the horizon. So nice, very simple, soft sky. And that's enough of the sky. Now I use the same blue that I used in the sky, and I'll just bring some of that into the water. And then bring that up to meet the waterline. Again, leaving a few areas unpainted. Now into some raw sienna and a touch of cobalt. Just put in some of that land and then bring that across, but allow it to touch where I've put the water in. And so that should run down and hopefully just create some simple little reflections without really having to do anything. Leave a couple of areas unpainted as well. And now just bring that land area up to the horizon. You can allow it to touch the sky wash as well, so it all kind of runs together. Now just pick up some more blue, mix that with the grey, and I'll just put in that little area there, kind of little area where they bring boats down. Slipway, I suppose it's called. And so just trying to get as much done as I can in one wash. And so grab some ultramarine, a bit of burnt sienna. And I'll just touch some of that into the land as well while it's still wet. And now start to work on that jetty a little bit. And so it's just some more ultramarine burnt sienna, so mixing it up quite dark now. And just looking at the overall shape, there's so much going on there that it'd be quite difficult to get it all down, especially in a sketch, but it doesn't really matter. I think just look at the overall shape and just try and get an impression of it. And so varying the mix of blue and burnt sienna, and so jumping back between sort of blue greys and brown greys, allowing it to touch the wet areas on the paper and kind of soften on its own, and lets it all run together, and so it makes for a more sort of cohesive painting. And I'll just use some of that dark on the right hand side as well, and just put it in here and there. And it creates a connection between the right and the left. So even more cobalt blue, and I'll just suggest that a little bit of distance now. The sky wash is still damp, so it's just going to soften and blend in. And it gives the impression of like a little bit of atmosphere, so it pushes that distance right back. Okay, I'll let that dry off. Okay, it's fully dry, so I'm just going to put in a post and the post of that jetty. And I work from right to left. Being left-handed, I find it easier to do that, so I'm not going to smudge anything with my hand. I mean, obviously, if you're right-handed, maybe work from left to right for the same reason. And so I'll just put that post in, and just a little bit of dark just at the base as well, just to kind of tie it into the ground. And I think I'll put another one in, just at a bit of an angle there. And I'll start working on the jetty. Just try and put the posts in one stroke where possible. And I'll put the first one in a little bit of grey. I'll bring a bit of raw sienna in as well. Just vary the colour of them, just so they're not one flat colour. A little bit of burnt sienna as well. And I'll just make them ever so thicker and darker just as we get closer. And put in some of those little handrails that are there. I mean, like I said, there's so much going on, and you can't really see in the photograph what's joined to what, but just join it all together and can get away with being quite random with it, really. But like I said, just look at the overall shape. Okay, getting closer still, so just a little touch darker. I like using these pointed squirrel brushes for this type of thing. So you can do anything from washes to fine lines with these. So it's a bit of ultramarine, burnt sienna again. Now getting quite dark. And a bit of a thicker post there. So I'll mix it, paint up about as dark as I'm going to go now. And I'll put in this large post and bring that straight down. So it's a little bit of dry brush so the paint breaks up on the paper there. And gives a nice little bit of texture. And there's a few more little handrails and bits and pieces on there as well. I'll have a look at that in a sec. But I'll just bring a little bit of texture down across the ground. And you can't really see anything in the photograph, but I think maybe I'll put a bit of a shadow of that post. Kind of helps tie it into the land as well. And mix up a little bit of cobalt blue just with what's in the palette. And I'll start to work on the reflections. And just look at the line of the post and bring it straight down. Just like a broken, wavy line. And I'll vary the colour of the reflections as I go as well. So kind of working in perspective with that. So ever so slightly darker as we come closer. A little bit more blue, a bit more grey. Doesn't have to be an exact mirror image, but just get them roughly in the right place. And I'll just bring a few more shadows across the land. Just make a connection between everything. And having some lines, the shadow lines going off, kind of helps to draw you into the painting as well. So it's slightly directional lines. It always helps with the perspective. And there's a few more handrails, just pop them in. I think they're handrails anyway. Like I said, there's so much going on, it's quite hard to see. And we treat everything very simply. And a few more connections up the top there. And same again, just with the reflections of those posts. Just a broken wavy line. All done with the same brush. I think that helps to add a sense of unity to the painting as well, using the same brush. So all the marks are similar. Let's bring a little bit more dark across the land. Now, there are some boats in the photo, but I don't think this actually needs that really. I mean, you can put them in if you want. And feel free to do a screen grab at the start of the video as well if you want to save that photo. Okay, I think I'll leave it at that. I'll just take the tape off. And that's a simple sketch of Morstan Key. And that's like I said at the start of the video, it's a similar technique that I'd use if I was out on location. So just to try and get the main points of the scene down as quickly as I can, as much as possible in one wash. And then just concentrate on lights and darks. So get the values right, and that helps with the perspective. Also add a sense of atmosphere, so if it's just blue skies, it's quite nice to add some clouds, move some things about and try and make a composition of a scene. You don't always have to be tied down to everything you see in front of you. You can move things around, because at the end of the day it's about making a nice painting. The photographs are nice on their own, and I find you can't always improve on that anyway, so use the information in the photo just to create your own painting. And do have a go. Let me know how you get on, and let me know in the comments. And I'll be back again next week with another painting. So until then, have a good week, and bye for now.